the double, and just this is what makes the boards do what they do. So if you look down the line, you see a little bit of concave, and then as you get closer, you'll notice this point here is a little higher, and you see the scoop. You can feel it a little bit too. Just you go across. Just that slight difference in this being higher than this changes everything. There's a guy named Jim Banks who's out of Australia that started doing this a while ago, where the center of the board is higher than the rail line, because previously it was thought to still keep the rail line higher than the center, just channeling water. And when he started doing this, everyone, including me, jumped on board and changed all my models. This was a long time ago, like right when I started. But this is a really good foundation. We're going to do the fun part now. So, we can just make sure our chines are about the same. Cool. All right. Now, I'm going to smooth it out the deck, and then I'm going to show you how to plane a rail, and then you're going to do it. Deck crust is always so much worse. I have a little, that green thing. Perfect. A little bit of weight. Keeps to sit on. You don't have to hyperfixate on the texture of the deck, because we're going to do a little bit of something called a concave deck, meaning the rail line here is actually higher than the center of the board. Helps your foot stay in and creates a little bit of responsiveness. It took me almost my whole shaping career to learn how to use this the way I do now. Just like the wrong movement, I could just dig straight into the board and ruin it, which, I don't know. Okay. Good enough for that. So, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be stepping this thing down. So, I'm going to do the initial cut, that way it's easier on the planer, and then I'll do one band for you, and then I'll let you do it. So, I'm just going to start the initial band. Let's plug this guy in. Now, because we're doing a wake surfboard and not an ocean surfboard, we can't really just run it at full depth. So, when I say full depth, this here controls the depth. So at full depth, which is here, we can cut an 1/8 inch at a time. Doesn't sound like much, but when you see it, you're like, oh crap. So, when you're planing, you're gonna keep your finger just about here, like, it's just not full. And it's pretty easy just to hold it. You're gonna put it up on your shoulder like this, and then power of it. It's got some good power. But when you come in, don't overthink it. Everyone's like, how do I get it over here? Just walk it in like a plane. Planer plane. And then for me right now, I'm gonna aim to add this on the same angle as this little bevel is right here. And you'll see, we're gonna make a bigger bevel. And we'll stop you right about here, because it's not very thick here. And so if we plane too much, we'll get the paper thin and then, yeah, not good. So, take this. You're right-handed?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to go this way on you, because it'll get caught on the rack. Yeah, right there, just like hold it there. It's pretty easy to slide, so I try to keep it between two fingers.
Okay.
Yeah. Feel the power of it, so you know. Yep. And then I'm gonna have you aim it right onto this line here. And I would say stop right about where my finger's at. Just pull it right off it. And just take it, land it, and come right off like a touch and go. Just center it. Right here to here. Yep. You're all good. Go ahead. No. So, let me show you what you're doing. When you're doing it,
I'll do it without pushing the trigger, maybe, right?
yeah,
So
do a
just
test right.
Yeah, okay. 'Cause
So-
I don't know when it's gonna contact.
I know. So the blade is directly under here, right?
Okay.
And so a lot of people put the planer on and the blades never touch. You'll know when the blades touch. And when it does, it's just one smooth
So I
motion.
should do it probably by feel rather than trying to look around.
Yeah, I wouldn't look around. Just do it by feel.
Okay, I'm a little bit nervous. Let me do a test run.
You're good.
So,
You're not gonna mess the board up at that depth right here. Just like that.
Okay.
And think your nose of it was kind of high. Keep the nose like as flush as you can.
Gotcha.
And then, yeah, you're right there, yeah. Easy. Go down with your back in. Yep, now go. Now start walking. There we go. Right here. A little more speed on. I think good idea. Perfect. See? Hopefully you wouldn't mess the board up. Do it again.
Alright.
So now put the blade just right in between on this groove here.
Okay, so like right.
You don't have to aim it too much, just right in there. Yep. You're good. Look at that, when you do it nice and steady, first of all, feel how nice it is the grip blade does instead of a normal blade would just be chopping it up.
Yeah.
So that does really well, and then when you hold your hand steady, it just creates a nice even bevel.
Okay.
So yeah, now I'm gonna have you do the first fan. So instead of going here, I want that blade actually on top here. So we're gonna bend it down a little more. There you go. Good. So now what you're starting to see are these rail bands. That's why we call them that, bands. So do it again right here.
So essentially, at the highest point right here, that peak.
Yeah, just basically,
down.
yeah, we're gonna go right here, and then you're going, you see how we have two lines? we're gonna make it one line again. You should be feeling the weight of the planer on the phone. You don't have to be too hesitant. The weight of the planer can be on the phone. Come all the way to here. Perfect. Excellent. You see now how we have one fan? So let me show you what we're doing here. So we're stepping it down. Now we're gonna have a flat deck at the end of this. So I'll show you what I mean by that in a little. But our next plan of approach is to start bending into the board too. We want a nice transition instead of abrupt angles. We don't want a hexagon type angle. We want this to eventually blend into the board. So what we're gonna do is you're now going to get this line. See what I mean? Yeah. And then we're going to do that one more time onto this bottom line here. That's all the way to about here. Great. Now, I always just check because it's hard to tell what we're doing exactly, but this is looking good so far. So eventually, we're going to keep stepping down this bottom line here until we get to about that much. That's going to be the apex of our rail later, and I'll show you what we mean by that. But when I say you're looking at a board like this, right? They stepped it down to about here. So they pulled from this about that much, and they stepped it down this way. Bad board of example because they have hard abrupt bevel edges, which I do sometimes, but those have their time and place. Let me see the planer really quick, and I'm gonna get us to the next point.
Feel free to step in anytime, you know.
That's an 1/8 inch cut right there. You see how much foam I just got rid of? So, we don't have to do the whole rail, and I never do, especially with other people. The challenge as a shaper is to do as much as you can with your planer technically, but I do that on my own boards, not other people's. But really, I can use this now. And what I'm doing here is I'm flattening the lines. So basically, if you look at this line here, the shadow, right? I'm just setting it up so that when we tuck the rail, it's nice and even throughout. Because if I have different depths of cuts and it's all rocky and bobbly, you're gonna have a really crappy rail. I'm also setting it up to blend into the rest of the board. So, right now, if you feel this, we have essentially the thickness of the rail that I want. We've now approached our, the thickness, essentially, except for right here, actually. Let's say right now. Alright, so we've essentially now gotten to the thickness of the rail that I want. And so you can see it's a square, so I'm going to start the rounding process just by different angles. I'm looking at where I'm tucking the rail because I don't want to ever touch this 90 degree here. Where it's 90 degrees, we'll always just pull from the top only. Where I start to bend now, I can do this. And now I'm like, all right, cool. I'm looking down the rail line. I see a pretty nice, consistent line. I'm not seeing any freeway crossings or anything like that. You want to start to dial in the back of it, very lightly touch it, but the reason I have these screens right here, and you're going to do this with me too, is this is what smooths it. Look, just that right there is making the rail. So take this guy, kind of a bit of an awkward angle here, but you're going to take this just like this, and you see this line here that we're trying to bend downward, you're going to essentially take that right like that. Don't worry about the nose because I know it's in a weird part of the rack right now. And make sure you can start all the way at the back and don't touch that angle. So stay on top of it. Yep. More forward. As far as you can. I know the rack is in a weird spot right now. It's a surfboard rack that I just have been too lazy to adjust for wake surfboards. But yeah, as far as you can. More? Yeah, keep going. Yep. When you get to here, get a little more gentle as far as pressure because the foam is a little thinner there. Good. Now let me see this. So we've now created a good tuck, but feel this. So you see how we have this bevel rail still? What I want to do is make this the new hard edge. So we need to tuck this further. So the way to do that is by very carefully correcting that edge here. I'll even come by like this right here. See, now we're not seeing that crazy bevel rail. Now you can feel it and you're like, oh, that's a rail. That's what a real rail feels like. So. Yeah. We're going to do a lot more dialing in after we do the second rail. But this is the foundation for sure. And you're probably wondering, why did we just only do the first rail, not the second at the same time, and why haven't we even touched that? I do that at the bottom, I do this kind of last, and then basically I leave some tolerance, but I use this as a model rail to do this next one. So, feel the thickness, but yeah.
I feel like that's where I would struggle, matching that with this.
Yeah, this is where it gets a little more technical. And I that's why I let everyone touch the rail on the first rail, because I'm still
I was gonna say, I will not match that second rail.
And a lot of people, you'll see other shapers, if you watch YouTube videos or whatever, drawing the lines. There's a mathematical approach you can do to this to get it as close as possible. I just do it by feel. I'm not a math guy. The shadows tell me everything I need to know. How far am I going to put this bevel into the center of the board? How thick am I going to do? I can see it all right in front of me. Something I do different than what I was telling you to do. I run it at full depth all the time. If you watch my finger, I just know how to feather it like manually, you know. So I'm controlling the depth just by pressure. But you can see right there, look, we're about even as far as the inside bevel. So now all I'm doing is I'm gonna feel for depth. So how much, because I can get deeper in this one spot and it'll look the same. So that's where you gotta be kind of careful. So that's why I get off the planer a little earlier than the other rail, because I want to kind of do this by hand. I used to be scared of my planer and do the rails completely by hand. Not even touch the planer. The idea with all this is to try to do it in big, smooth strokes as opposed to doing that. But without these shadows, I would not be able to see like that spot was too thick when I was just correcting it or whatever, you know? So I tuck the rails, and then I feel it, and I'm like, I got a little more thickness I gotta take off. I just gently do that. It actually wasn't really the thickness I'm concerned about, it's where the apex of the rail is. The apex is here on this one, and it's just a little higher here. So like taking a little bit of foam where I'm hitting it, pushes the apex down. See how when we look at this, that shadow, and I'm talking about from the block forward, not the back because we haven't touched yet, is a nice straight line essentially. That's good. So, before we go and really start to dial this thing out, you can feel basically what we're working with here now. You can hold it and like see the dispersion of foam. A couple things we'll dial in before it's done that'll show us a more accurate picture of where the foam is, believe it or not, is dialing in the bottom, and then doing the concave deck too. But yeah, pretty close already. What I'm doing here is I just saw that bevel that was still there that I didn't tuck fully, so I can go and manually tuck it like that.